Hi, my dears. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I'm going to need you guys to grab out just a couple things for me, please. So number one, you should have out your notes from yesterday. Look like this. It's got all those really pretty graphs on it that we did together, right? This one. You should have that out. The other thing you should have out is the paper from the back as well. So if you did not grab that paper from the back, go ahead, grab that one out. And then you've got 4 different little pieces of a question there for your warm-up. So take a moment, grab out those papers, and answer those warm-up questions in your notebooks. See those notes out. Love that I see people with their notes out from yesterday. Always a positive. I feel like that I see some people graphing some things. That's a good choice too. You don't have to, but it's a good choice. So 1 second. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Take about 30 more seconds.
Actually, all of these just need to be cut. So if you cut, leave maybe like, I don't want it to be right next to it, maybe leave like, right there, and you should be able to just put mine right. Thank you.
All right, are we ready? Reflection ready? So yesterday we talked about taking a picture and reflecting it or flipping it. And remember when we flipped our picture, none of the orientations, the orientations changed, but none of the sizes or shapes changed. So like if you raised your right hand, it looked like you raised your left hand, right? It's just everything is flipped essentially inside of a reflection. So we talked about 4 different reflections yesterday. Reflecting across the x-axis, where you kept the x the same and you changed the y. Reflecting across the y-axis, where you change the x and keep the y. Reflecting across the line y equals x, where they just trade places. Reflecting across the line y equals negative x, where they trade places and change signs. So for your warm-up, I asked you to take 1 point and reflect it on 4 different lines. So the first one I asked you to do is to reflect point A across the x-axis. So who knows the coordinates of the point once you reflect them across the x-axis? So your x should stay the same and your y should change. What do you think? Mitchell? 3, say again? 3 and 2, very good. Now when you write the point, you're going to put an A with a prime next to it, right? Because it's showing that you've reflected it, so you do have to label your points. So it's 3, 2. Very good. My y changed. All right. Next is to take that, go back to the original point and reflect it across the y-axis. Now we're doing another type of reflection. So since we have another reflection, I can't call it point A and I can't call it A prime. I'm going to call it A double prime, which means you've done another transformation to it. You've done another reflection. Okay, so to reflect across the y-axis, I change my x and I keep my y the same. Who's got A double prime? What do you think? Who knows that one? Change the x, keep the y.
-3, -2.
Good. -3, so I change that one. And then I keep my -2 the same. Good job. Guess what we're going to call the next point? A what? I got 1 tick mark, 2 tick marks. Guess what the next one's going to have? 3 tick marks. Right, 'cause they're all different points. All right, I'm going to reflect across the line y equals x. So all I have to do is trade places. Who wants to try that one? Trading places. What do you think? -2, +3. Good. Right, I just took these 2 and they traded places. Last one's probably the hardest one because not only do they trade places, they also change signs. Now, when I name this point, guess what I'm going to name it? A what?
2, A2, -2.
Well, first of all, I'm going to put 4 tick marks next to it to show it's a new point. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you could go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But what is it, Svelio? 2 and -3. Fantastic. All right. Questions on that one? Comments or concerns? Not too bad, right? So I'm hoping that you guys feel really confident when it comes to some reflections. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit more practice with those reflections. So you're going to keep that paper out because these rules right here, this is gold. You don't want to lose that. That's your golden, like, way to get everything right. So you should have grabbed from the back 3.1 reflections. Go ahead and put your name on it if you haven't already. And today's date, which is the 20th. All right, so I'm going to do like 1 or 2 of each type of problem with you, and then I'm going to give you the rest of the class period to complete the other problems, okay? So you don't need to worry about the other side of those notes. We're not doing those. We're going straight to this one here. Okay, so this one says, find the coordinates of the vertices of each figure after the given transformation. So you are reflecting every single one of these types of problems here. Every single one's a reflection. All you have to do for the reflection is just write the new coordinates. You don't have to do anything else except write the coordinates. So there's no graphing involved on the front. It's just writing the coordinates, which should be really, really easy. So let's do like number 4 together, because that's probably the hardest one. Number 4. So number 4 says reflect across the line y equals negative x. And Miss Massey likes to have her highlighter so she knows what she's reflecting over. Okay, if you are reflecting over this line, what is the rule? What happens to your x and y's?
They switch and both are negative.
They switch, well, they don't both turn negative. They change sign. Yeah. So I'm going to change my sign to be negative y, negative x, right? So if it was negative, it becomes positive. If it was positive, it becomes negative. Okay, so they're going to switch places and switch signs. Who can raise their hand and give me the first coordinate for n prime? What? Do we just write what? Yes, that's what we're starting on right now. Yep, number 4. This is the first one we're doing together. Correct. All right, Nicole, go ahead. Good. -2, +4. Switch places and switch signs. Good. L prime, who's got that one? Jaden? -3, +1. Good. They trade places and they trade signs. Last one, R prime. Savelia? -2 and 1. Great. Is this the easiest thing you've ever done or what? Yeah. Okay. So on the front side, all you're doing is reflections and all you're doing is the coordinates. So I'm going to not do any more on the front. I'm going to do some of the graph ones with you on the back. Okay, because those are a little harder. I think you can kill the front side. So let's flip it to the back. Okay, now on the back, you are given 4 points of the original picture, and then it asks you to write the coordinates of the new graph after it's been reflected. So it gives you all the points, and then it tells you what to reflect over right at the end. So the last part of each sentence is going to tell you where you're reflecting. So if we take a look at number 1, actually, why don't we do number 2? Because number 1's easy. Let's do number 2. If you look at number 2, you're given your 3 points, and then it tells you where to reflect right here. Y equals x. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to plot the points of these 3. Okay? So let's take a second. Let's graph those 3 points. And you're going to label them as well. So point F is 1, 8, which means you go over 1 and up 8. All the way at the top. You're going to put your point there and you're going to label it F. G is 5, 7. That means you go over 5 and up 7. And H is 2, 3. Over 2, up 3. Okay, so once you have that graph, put your pencil down, and then I'll take you on to the next part. All right. So you've got your points. You should have them labeled as well. The graph is reflected over the line y equals x. So if we go back to our notes, what does y equals x look like? What kind of line? What kind of line is this? A diagonal line. So I need to take this and I need to reflect it over a diagonal line. Now, frankly, I think trying to do it on the graph is tough. So instead of doing it on the graph, why don't we just use the rules? And then you don't even have to worry about looking at the graph. If you're using the equation y equals x and you're reflecting over it, what is the rule? What do you have to do? They just switch places. They trade places. Your x becomes your y becomes your x. That's all you got to do. So let's do the coordinates first, and let's graph them second. So if my first point F was 1, 8, what is F prime going to be? 8, 1. If point G is 5, 7, what's G prime? And if point H is 2, 3, what's H prime? 3, 2. That is way easier than trying to fold your paper in half and graph it, right? As soon as you know the rule, you're golden. Now all you have to do is plot those points. So 8, 1 means over 8 and up 1. You're going to make sure you label your points. G says you go over 7 and up 5. And then H prime is you go over 3 and up 2. And so when you look at it, your pictures should look like the same triangle, just that's been reflected. So you can think about it almost like, I don't know if I told you guys this yesterday, but if you think about like a butterfly, you know how if you take a butterfly, the two wings, and if they fold over, they match up together? It's essentially the same thing, right? If I fold these over together, they should match up, which they look like they're going to. So I probably did it right. Good. Okay, questions? Okay, so my suggestion is to do the rule first and graph second. That might make it easier. Yes.
I don't really understand.
Oh, well, oh my goodness, isn't it a good thing that I'm about to do number 3 with you? Actually, I'm going to do number 5 with you. But number 5 is like number 3. All right, questions. Feeling pretty good. Let's slide on down to 5. Because as Jaden has pointed out, number 3 and number 5 look a little different. Why does number 5 look a little different than the other ones? It's got a number. It doesn't give me one of these 4 this time, right? It doesn't give me x-axis, y-axis, y equals x, y equals x. It gives me x equals -3. Well, that's not fun. That's something different. Okay, that's okay. First thing we're going to do, we're going to plot the points of our original picture. So let's just take a second. Let's plot these 3 points on the graph. So P is -2, 3. That means you go over 2 and up 3. Q is 2, 4. That means you go to the right 2 and up 4. And R is 1, -1, which means you go over 1 and down 1. That's my original graph. So once you've got your original points, put your pencil down so know you're ready to go on. Make sure you label your points too with the letters. All right. Now, it wants you to reflect over the line x equals -3. So now you got to think back to when we did parallel and perpendicular lines. X equals -3 is a straight line. Is it a straight line going up and down? Or is it a straight line going left and right?
Okay.
X equals -3, that means No matter what point you pick, your x is always -3. So that means you go over -3 and then you can go up 1. You can go over -3, you can go up 2. You can go over -3, you can go up 7. What kind of line are you making? You got it right the first time. It's a vertical line. X equals -3. That means at -3 on the x-axis, you have a vertical line. So here's x, here's y. If I go over to -3, 1, 2, 3, this is my line of reflection. Straight up and down at -3. So this time, when I reflect, I'm going to reflect it over that yellow line there. I'm going to reflect it over this yellow line. So if I'm over on the right side, which way is it going to get reflected to? To the other side, which is the left side, right? So it's just going to get flipped over to the other side. And all I'm going to do is count how far away each point is from the yellow line. So on the same line, point P is how far away from this yellow line? 1 box to the right. So which way does Miss Massa have to go? 1 box to the left. There's your P prime. What's the coordinates of that P prime? Well, -4, 3. -4, 3. If you go back to the original, which one changed? Just the x changed. The y stayed the same. All right, let's do Q. How far away is Q from this yellow line? 5, so I need to go 5 the other way. What are the coordinates of Q prime? Good. Last one, R. How far away is R from this yellow line?
4.
So I'm going to go 4 the other way. R prime. What are the coordinates of R prime?
-7.
Good, -7, -1, and now you are finished. So for numbers 1, 2, 4, and 6, you have a rule to do each reflection. For numbers 3 and 5, you're going to have to draw the line and count how far away each point is from the line. So the last part I'm going to do with you, and then I'm going to leave you to it, is if you look at number 3, the line y equals 1, is that a vertical line or a horizontal line? So the line x equals -3 was vertical, so y equals 1 is going to be horizontal. So at the 1, this is going to be your line of reflection. Right at the 1. So you'll plot your points and then you'll reflect them over. Okay. My suggestion when you get to those graphs, personally, I would do all the rules first. I would write all the coordinates first and I would graph second. That's what I would do because it's going to be way easier if you do it that way. All right. Do I have any questions, comments, or concerns about what is expected of you now in the rest of the class period? Which one do you want me to zoom in on that you have to look at? Do you want me to zoom in on any one of these? Do we got them all? All right, then you got a couple more graphs to do and you've got a couple quick ones to do on the front. You've got the rest of the class period, which is about 20 minutes. I think you can get done in 20. Okay, and if you don't, whatever you don't finish, homework. Okay, so go ahead, get yourself started, and I'll come around and help you out as needed. Okay. Oops. So I wanted